Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some more breaking news coming out from Russia to share with you with this ongoing offensive from the Ukrainians pushing into Russian territory. I have a ton of updates to share with you. This video that you're watching here is actually from the Russians that was released on X. This was shared by one of our sources from Nexta, showing a HIMARS unit being destroyed by the Russians in the Sumy region. So the reason why I'm showing you this is although we are sharing a lot of success coming from Ukraine pushing into the Kursk region of Russia, they are taking some hits, some major blows, and some losses at the same time. This is video footage proving that of a HIMARS destruction in the Sumy region. Okay, so absolutely massive strike. We can see there major fire breaking out. I don't know what was dropped there, but a heavy bomb was definitely dropped on that HIMARS unit. So some of the biggest news coming out from Ukraine today is 82 settlements are now in control by the Ukrainians in the Kursk region. That's huge, okay? We were just at 74 in the last 24 to 48 hours. We have now jumped up to 82 settlements. So that's a total of 8 more settlements that have been taken in the Kursk region. Also, some big news, Ukraine has set up a command post. We reported this yesterday in our video for you. That Ukraine was planning to set up a military command post in the Kursk region. They were saying that it was legal for them to do so under international law. So it looks like they have gone ahead and done that. We've got information talking about that today as well. So some other big news also, Ukraine is up to 1,150 square kilometers of territorial gains in the Kursk region now. Last I knew, we were at like 1,040 just in the last day or two. So they have gained another 110 square kilometers, inside the Kursk region alone. So they are moving very, very quickly. And also they have advanced 35 kilometers inland. Okay, last update I had for you guys, they were at 30. So they've gained another 5 kilometers of territory inland into the Kursk region. So they are moving very, very quick, taking vast amounts of territory away from the Russians very quickly. So I have a ton of updates I want to go in here today to share with you. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. So here we go on X. From Nexta, just in, 82 settlements in the Kursk region are already under Ukrainian control. Since the beginning of the offensive, the AFU has seized 1,150 square kilometers and advanced 35 kilometers inland. This was reported by Commander-in-Chief Sursky in his report to President Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay, so that was just coming out today, August 15th, 2024. So very, very big news in regards to the updates with Ukraine pushing into the Kursk region. Take a look at this as well from Nexta, just in. Ukraine has established a military command in the Kursk region headed by General Moskalev. This was announced by the head of the command, Alexander Sursky, as well. This was another big update that Alexander Sursky gave to President Volodymyr Zelensky, is that they have established a military command post in the Kursk region. Okay, so they are definitely planning to take control of this area for quite a while. Who knows what's going to happen here in the next few months, but we're going to talk some more about that as well. I've got some updates that may show that there's a possibility this war could definitely continue well beyond the end of this year. We've talked a lot about this war coming to an end. I don't know if that's a bluff or what that is coming from Volodymyr Zelensky, kind of saying that he's willing to move towards peace negotiations with Russia. But it's definitely looking like it's very possible this war could continue on much further than that. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit once we get closer to the end of this video. Check this out as well. This is huge news. The informant. In the Kursk region, 102 Russian servicemen were captured by the armed forces of Ukraine, according to Ukrainian media. This is the largest number of Russian prisoners captured at one time since the start of the invasion. The capture took place at a heavily fortified stronghold where the Russians, including fighters from the Akhmat unit, which are known as the Kadyrov unit, and the 488th Motorized Rifle Regiment. For the first time, Russia's reportedly begun prisoner exchange negotiations. So that's some big news. Russia has started negotiating with Ukraine in the Kursk region already, trying to get some of their troops back that have been taken prisoner. And obviously that's good for Ukraine too, because then they can exchange and get some of their troops back. So yeah, this is very big, guys. 102 Russian servicemen captured at one time, okay, in one settlement of Ukraine. And this is video footage, and we got pictures here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. and then we'll talk about it after. Okay, so as we can see here, looks like there might be, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe 50 Russian servicemen that were captured just right here alone that are all laying on the ground. So again, we've seen video after video after video of tons of Russians just surrendering all over the place. Clearly, I don't know, are they outnumbered or what's going on? Why are they not fighting? Why are they just laying down their arms and giving up? But clearly they are surrendering in mass all over the place in the Kursk region. So let me show you a few pictures here as well. Here's a couple photos for you. So here's a group of Russian soldiers right here that have surrendered, and we've got a few more. Here's some walking into, looks like some sort of hangar or some little shed or building, or looks like more like a hangar to me. But also, there you go. Look at that. Okay, here's a bunch of them. I actually had this on the thumbnail for you guys, but there's got to be at least 50 or 60 of them just in here alone. Okay, so this is absolutely huge. Again, 102 Russian servicemen captured by the armed forces of Ukraine in one go, okay? So very, very big news. Let's go ahead and keep moving. Bliskovka reports Ukraine and the Russian Federation begin negotiations on the exchange of prisoners in the Kursk region. Okay, so we got this confirmation coming out from the Financial Times that they are going to be working on prisoner exchange, Ukraine and Russia, that is. The publication writes that this was confirmed by Ukrainian intelligence. The exact number of prisoners taken by Ukraine during the incursion into the Kursk region is not disclosed, but government and military officials have stated that the figure is in the hundreds. Okay, so we know for sure hundreds of troops have been captured in the Kursk region alone, but we have heard some reports as high as over 1,000 Russian servicemen have been captured and are currently being held by the Ukrainians at this time. So very, very big news, and that's good. At least they'll be working on some prisoner talks and exchanges of troops. So let's keep moving here. Also from Bliskovka, a Russian Tu-22M bomber crashed in the Irkutsk region, Russian media writes. Eyewitnesses claim that the plane caught on fire in the air. 2 people jumped out of it with parachutes. So I don't know if this thing was shot down. We don't really have all the details here, but this is something being widely reported on X today. A Tu-22M bomber plane has crashed in the Irkutsk region. Okay, so we've got video footage here showing that. And from what I understand, this warplane is somewhere around $40 million, and Russia only has a handful of these. I'll show you guys the numbers here in just a little bit, but take a look at this video footage.
Это что такое? Это что такое? Че, реально? Че, реально самолет падает? Реально самолет упал, что ли? Че, реально самолет? Это что такое?
Okay, so we can clearly see from this video this thing falling out of the sky, and whenever it hits the ground, massive fireball. Look at that. Absolutely huge fireball. We can see the whole night sky just being lit up from this explosion. So maybe this thing still had bombs on it. Who knows what happened here, but we don't know if it was shot down or what happened. But the information that we're getting here is that 2 of the crewmen did jump out. We don't know if any were still stuck inside, but it did catch fire while it was in the air, and it crashed and burned to the ground. So major loss for Russia. Again, let me talk some more about this. We've got another video here as well. The Defense Ministry of Russian Federation confirmed the fall of a bomber in the Irkutsk region. This is from Bliskovka. According to them, the crew allegedly ejected. Okay, so we understand that the crew completely got out safe, hopefully. Maybe they jumped out with their parachutes. We don't know what happened to them after that, but they apparently ejected. Here's video footage of it on the ground burning as well. Take a look at this. So a Russian Tu-22M bomber now gone, caught up in flames, and another major hit to the Russians. Okay, they've been losing a lot of warplanes recently. We just reported yesterday they lost an Su-34 over the Kursk region, I believe, or Belgorod. It got shot down. And those things are like 30 million a piece, more than 30 million. This one happens to be like 40 million a piece. Okay, so take a look at this from next to Russian media. Moscow had 27 Tu-22M fighters in August 2023. Okay, so last we knew, according to Russian media and next to here, that Moscow had 27 of these. So I don't know. Do they have 26 or maybe they've got less? I haven't heard of any of these Tu-22Ms being shot down recently. So yeah, they could have 26 or less of them now. Okay, so they obviously don't have too many of them. They can't afford to be losing a lot, right? So let's keep moving on. Again, from Bliskovka, Lukashenko, against the background of the Ukraine's offensive in the Kursk region, declared the need for negotiations. Let's sit down at the negotiating table and end this fight. Neither the Ukrainian people nor the Russians nor the Belarusians need it. He believes that high-ranking persons of American origin want to continue the war. Okay, so I thought this was very interesting that Lukashenko's coming out. He's the president of Belarus, okay? And we've been reporting on Belarus a lot over the last few days. Let me give you a recap here. So what just happened a few days ago is Belarus claimed that Ukrainian drones traversed into their territory. They had to shoot them down. And then all of a sudden that prompted them to start moving a bunch of military equipment to their border with Ukraine on the southern side of their country. And then all of a sudden, a day later, we hear that Belarus is actually transferring a bunch of Russian equipment over to Russia. Okay, a bunch of their military equipment. Okay, these were active units that they were using, whether they be tanks, armored personnel carriers, whatever it might be. They were going to be sending their active unit military equipment over to Russia to aid them because they are running out of equipment apparently to continue fighting this war against the Ukrainians pushing into their territory in the Kursk region. So we heard as well some reports were stating that this could indicate as well that Belarus could be low on supplies also, that they also transferred a bunch of equipment to Russia back at the start of this war, right before Russia launched their invasion in 2022. And now they transferred more equipment again. So some sources were indicating that Belarus was basically bone dry when it comes to military equipment. So maybe that's what they're worried about. Maybe they're worried about an invasion of their country as well. And maybe they're afraid that if Ukraine were to launch an incursion like what they see happening into Russia right now, considering that Russia's got way more firepower than Belarus does, that maybe they wouldn't be able to defend themselves. Who knows? So I thought that was some really big news that I wanted to share with you guys. Pretty crazy to see that. Also, from next to just now, White House to announce new military aid packages for Ukraine. According to John Kirby, the U.S. will announce military aid packages for Ukraine in the coming days, okay? They've been sending Ukraine lots and lots of aid packages recently. Back in July, they sent like $2.3 billion. And just the other day, we had this right here, $125 million military aid package for Ukraine. This was right around the start of the offensive when they first pushed into the Kursk region. This came out on August 9th, okay, 125 million. Now we're going to be getting another aid package coming up here very soon, going to Ukraine again. So yet again, more American tax dollars going to Ukraine to continue funding this war, okay? We're going to talk some more about that here in just a little bit once we get done with these posts. All right, so also from next up, for Build, Ukrainian forces advanced 3 kilometers east of Sutsa in Russia's Kursk region. The villages of Mern, Bondarivka, and Mykolaiva, oh, so hard to say, sorry guys, Mikhailivka are now under Ukrainian control. My apologies. I struggle with some of these names sometimes. It's so difficult to say. So Sutsa is down here where they originally took, right? They're starting to move east now, getting closer to where down here would be the border of Belgorod, okay, the Belgorod region. So now it looks like they've taken control of these settlements, Merny, Bondarivka, and Mykolaiva. Okay, these 3 settlements here are now taken. The Ukrainians are starting to move east, not just north and northwest over here, okay? So that was some big news coming out today. So next, moving on from Nexta, Ukraine Deputy PM, civilians from the Kursk region may be evacuated to the Ukrainian city of Sumy. As for the humanitarian corridor to Russia, there is such a possibility, but under the condition of a request from Russia. No such request has been received so far, she said. Okay, so what we understand from this is civilians from the Kursk region might start going to the Ukrainian city of Sumy, which is just over the border. And they've been talking a lot about this, about opening humanitarian corridors into Ukraine and also outside of the Kursk region to flow back into Russia. And Russia has even announced that they're going to try to transfer many of their citizens from one war zone of Kursk over to Zaporizhia, which is another war zone in Ukraine. So I don't really understand the logic right there. That doesn't really make any sense to me, but that's something that the Russians want to do. They want to transfer some of these civilians away from Kursk on over to Zaporizhia, but Ukraine is willing to take some of these citizens into Sumy as well, into their own territory. So very big news there. Also moving on to Bliskovka again, the Ukrainian armed forces used British Challenger 2 tanks during the offensive in the Kursk region, says Sky News. The British Ministry of Defense refused to comment on the details of the operation. The armed forces did not comment either. However, Great Britain has confirmed that Ukraine can freely use British weapons on the territory of Russia in accordance with government policy. So yet again, another country or NATO nation supporting Ukraine's right to push into Russian territory and use whatever equipment they basically give them. So including these British Challenger 2 tanks, it's okay for them to move into Russian territory with this equipment. Now we're going to start talking about some of these Storm Shadow missiles as well. So let's start with that. So Bliskovka, Britain urges allies to allow Ukrainian armed forces to launch Storm Shadow MLRS strikes on Russia, the Times reports, citing sources. This is something that's been pushed for a long time now. British ministers are holding closed-door talks with Western governments, which have so far been cautious about providing Ukraine with long-range weapons for fear of escalating the conflict. So this is something that I've been talking about for a long time. Me personally, I believe if this war drags into next year, which is very highly likely that it could, depending on how the elections go, depending on some other information that I give you guys here in just a little bit, it's very possible this war could continue all the way into next year and beyond. If that happens to be the case, we could eventually see countries like Britain allowing Ukraine to use long-range weapons such as these Storm Shadow missiles to strike targets inside Russian territory. And I personally believe this is coming at some point. If this war does not come to an end very soon, I think it eventually will happen. The U.S. is already starting to talk about that right now, so let's go ahead and move on. I think I got a post to talk about that. Yeah, here we go. From next to Politico, Biden open to sending long-range cruise missiles to Ukraine. The Pentagon is currently working on fixes to allow Ukraine to launch the weapons from its fighter jets. Okay, these are the F-16s, or maybe I don't know if some of these can be fitted to Ukraine's fighter jets, like their Su-27s or 24s that they have. The debate over JASSM and the Biden administration's willingness to explore its transfer makes the missile the latest in the long line of sophisticated weapons once considered off limits for transfer to Ukraine. Okay, so long-range weapons going to Ukraine at some point, potentially. Okay, we'll see what happens if the Biden administration approves this, to give them long-range weapons to attach to fighter jets, let's say the F-16s that they have, for example. That's why I'm saying I think this is the next step here. I think this is the introduction to this. What we're seeing in the Kursk region is the beginning of it. It's a slow, tippy-toe process to see how Russia reacts when they start having strikes on their territory. Okay, so obviously HIMARS has been hitting inside of Russian territory recently. We've been seeing that. We have not seen ATACMS hit Russian territory. We've only seen that in annexed regions of Ukraine, including Crimea. But I think they're trying to slowly open the door to allow this to happen. And I think the Kursk offensive is the beginning of that. And that's why we're seeing so many countries coming out and saying it's perfectly okay to use whatever NATO equipment we give you, aside from the long-range cruise missiles that are sent to Ukraine. Okay, that's what we are hearing. But I think eventually that will change. Okay, also, from next to, again, just now, the Belgorod region of Russia was declared under a federal state of emergency. Okay, so we reported just yesterday they were under a state emergency. Now they're under federal emergency, okay? Just like the Kursk region, that will allow them to get a lot of federal help from the government. And obviously the military has to move into there as well. So they obviously have to declare a federal emergency. So big news coming out from Belgorod. Unfortunately, I don't have any other updates as far as an offensive with the Ukrainians moving into Belgorod at this time. Maybe we'll get some more updates coming out very soon. But as soon as I do, I will do another video and share that news with you guys. But most of the news we have today is in the Kursk region. Also, from Nexta, just now, the Indian embassy in Russia has urged its citizens to leave the Bryansk, Belgorod, and Kursk regions immediately. Okay, so the Indian embassy in Russia telling their citizens to get out of these three regions, says Embassy of India, Moscow. Advisory for Indian nationals in Bryansk, Belgorod, and Kursk regions in view of the recent security incidents in Bryansk, Belgorod, and Kursk. Indian nationals are advised to take necessary precautions and temporarily relocate outside these regions. Any Indian national or student requiring any assistance may contact the embassy at the email, yada, yada, yada. So this came out yesterday, okay, August 14th, 2024. And these are the three regions here. I pulled up a map just to show you in case you're not aware of where these regions are at. Some of us might not know, but Kursk is right here. Okay, this is the Kursk region. Here's Sumy, where they started to push in into the Kursk region, and here's Sudza, where the Ukrainians are mostly taking control of right now around this area. And Belgorod is right over here. Okay, this is the Belgorod region just to the southeast of Kursk. And then also up here to the northwest of Kursk is the Bryansk region. Okay, so it's basically 1, 2, 3. These three territories right here, these different oblasts are the regions that the Indian embassy in Russia is telling their citizens to get out. Okay, so this is where a lot of the expansion of the war is most likely to take place, because think about down here too. Okay, once you get to the Voronezh region and then the Rostov region down here, all of this is controlled by the Russians, so a lot of their military equipment is concentrated down here, so most likely the Ukrainians won't move down in this direction. That's why they're focusing up here in the northwestern side of Russia versus the southern side down here, because this is a much less defended area versus down here where all the fighting is taking place inside of Ukraine. So I just wanted to share that with you in case you weren't aware of that. Also, I've got some video footage here coming out on X as well from Igor Sushko. Kursk offensive, Ukrainian forces captured another Russian T-80 BVM tank. Okay, so just on August 11th, 4 days ago, the Ukrainians had captured a T-80 BVM version 2022 tank. We reported on this when that came out. Now they've captured another one, so I wanted to share this video footage with you. It's 1 minute 18 seconds long. I think it's kind of cool to see this, so take a look.
Ви підірвали сильно. Пробуємо. Хлопці, пробуйте. Пробуємо, так? Так. Але в нього ще не хоче. Але не сильно, не критично. Не критично. Треба лягти ліпше. Іде? Да? Заводьте направо одразу. Коло, знімаємося. Запускається? А чую. Давай, направо, одразу направо. Да, да. Прапор дістань, неси! Неси! Принеси! А принеси прапорів! Дай прапор!
Okay, so I don't know if you caught there towards the end. We'll go ahead and keep replaying that for you. But towards the end over here, you can see this tank rolling up where they got control of it. And I think they were probably putting the flag on there so they can have it identified as, you know, being a captured tank, that this wasn't necessarily just a Russian tank rolling through the streets so they don't get shot at, right? So I thought that was pretty big. The T-80 BVM tank, this is the second tank they have taken in just the last few days in the Kursk region. So I thought that was pretty cool to share with you guys. So I got two more things I want to talk about here real quick. This last one from Igor Sushko on X. Russia mandatory evacuation order expanded to the entire Glushkovsky district. Ukrainian forces appear intent to continue expanding their hold of Russian territory in all directions. Okay, so now we've got this section of the Kursk region beginning to be evacuated as the Ukrainians are starting to push west as well. Last I heard, they were getting close to this town of Kornovo. I don't know if they have control over it. They might. But they have been pushing west over here. So now these settlements in this region over here are starting to be evacuated as lots of heavy fighting is taking place. So something I wanted to share with you, okay? So they're expanding all over the place. They're pushing north, northwest over here. They're going to the east towards Belgorod, down this way, and now they're starting to take control and push this direction over here. And the Ukrainians are moving very quick. I mean, what are we reporting? Every single day, you know, they're taking almost another 100 square kilometers of territory in Russia every single day, okay? So they're moving so quick, and this is why they got to evacuate people quickly, because the Russians are just surrendering in mass all over the place. They're barely even putting up a fight in many cases here. So absolutely huge, guys. I just wanted to share that with you. Finally, I want to talk about one last thing, okay? We put out an update, I think it was just yesterday, the day before, talking about these two senators, okay? Lindsey Graham, Richard Blumenthal. They were visiting in Kiev just the other day, announcing multiple different things for Ukraine, okay? And one of the things that they talked about that I want to discuss here today is the Stand With Ukraine Act, okay? And the Stand With Ukraine Act is basically a bill that's going to get put forth to Congress, and if it gets passed, potentially it looks like this could force the United States to hold an agreement to support Ukraine for up to 10 years. Okay, let me show you this information down here. It says here in a joint press release, Blumenthal and Graham outlined 4 pillars for a strong U.S. policy on Ukraine through 2024 and 2025. First, they called on NATO to issue an invitation this year to Ukraine for membership, an obvious but crucial next step to more formally bind the country into the alliance. Second, the two announced that Blumenthal would introduce the Stand With Ukraine Act when Congress returns to Capitol Hill in September to codify the bilateral security agreement that the Biden and Zelensky administrations reached in June. This, too, is a sensible and necessary move. While Ukraine has signed security pacts with a host of Western partners, nearly all of them have been non-binding, including the U.S.-Ukraine agreement. An act of Congress would seal its implementation over the length of its 10-year lifespan. Okay, so if this thing has a 10-year lifespan, does this mean that the U.S. would be committed to supporting Ukraine for up to 10 years in this war, if this war continues on? The reason why I brought this up is because what if there's a very big possibility that this war could continue on way past this year? I think it's very highly likely that we could see this. And this is what I mentioned earlier when I told you guys that is this a bluff from Volodymyr Zelensky, where he recently came out and said, oh, we have so many wounded and dead people on the battlefield, basically indicating that they might be running out of troops, that we got to get an end to this war. But then soon after that, they launch a major invasion of the Kursk region. If they're out of troops, how were they able to do this, okay? So I don't know. Is this like some sort of 4D chess move or what's going on here? But I think it's very possible we could see this war continue on past the elections of this year, even if Donald Trump gets into office. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, a few things end up not happening. Let's say Donald Trump gets back in, but for some reason he's not able to end this war. He says that he can, but what if he's not able to? What if something happens where he cannot end this war? Or what if this Stand With Ukraine Act gets passed, and let's say that Congress is forced to, support Ukraine for up to 10 years. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud here with some of these situations, but I wanted to share that with you because I found out some information talking about that when Richard Blumenthal and also Lindsey Graham, these two senators from the United States, visited Kiev just the other day and talked about this apparently. So definitely it's something to think about. And now that we see this front opening up in the Kursk region, eventually the Belgorod region, who knows, maybe Bryansk will be next, maybe even Belarus. This thing could get widely out of control. Who knows what's going to happen here? It's a very unpredictable situation, right? But what if this thing does continue on for a very long time, okay? It could continue on for years to come. And it definitely seems like Ukraine may not be looking towards negotiations. Maybe this was a complete bluff and a diversion tactic to kind of make Russia appear, make them think as if Ukraine is ready to negotiate because they're losing this war. But on the back end, they had all these reserve troops that were ready to go to strike into Russian territory. And now they want to take the fight to Russia and potentially try to end the Putin regime. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think down below. Those are just kind of my thoughts, some things that I was thinking about. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I am saying is, anything is possible in this war over here. Obviously, things are wildly out of control, and things change very rapidly just overnight based on what we're seeing. So share your thoughts and concerns down in the comment section. I'm very curious to know what some of you were thinking in regards to this topic here and everything that we kind of discussed in this video today. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get out of here. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.